We are now live. This is Keep It 100 podcast show with my guest Kie B. Kie B, right?
Going on?
All right,
Kie
for
B,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I appreciate you for joining me. This kind of short notice. I started talking to you yesterday, and then we kind
Yeah,
of
thank you. Thank you for having me.
for sure. Um, so we are now streaming on Facebook, of course, and I'm gonna ask you some questions. They're gonna go across the screen, and then yeah, that's how we're just gonna rock with it really quick. Good.
All
That
right,
works for
cool,
you?
cool. I'm ready.
Sure.
I'm ready.
All right, for sure. Okay. First question. What age did you get into music?
I'm gonna say I always had an interest in music since I was a child because my father, he was a musician himself. So I took after music at that age. So I mean, like young, I could dial it all the way back to from I would say as young as 2 and 3, just dancing, things like that. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much how far back I go back. Once I start getting older, then I start to play around with it a little bit more. But around about 2, 3, dancing, singing, yeah, it started way back then.
For sure. Any instruments that you play or that you learn how to play from a young age?
I would say not so much. The first instrument I really learned was my voice, learning how to
Hmm.
sing first. And then when I was in middle school, I played the trombone.
Okay.
Um, and I actually own a guitar and a keyboard, but I'm still learning those as well. But I don't play them professionally or anything like that. So
Okay.
just the
For sure.
interest.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Uh,
I have a question that I'm gonna ask, but it's later down the line. But I'm kind of gonna ask something along those lines really quick. It's not gonna go on the screen, but I'm just gonna ask it. Far as like role models, like as a musician, like did you have like any role models, like besides your dad, of course, or a family member? But did you have any role models that you looked up to?
um, I would say like if I did have any role models, it was mainly like mainstream artists,
Hmm.
like Usher. Usher was one of the biggest artists that I actually looked up to um, during my time coming up to as well. Chris Brown was a big artist as well.
Sure.
The Boys to Men group. Um, it was a good amount of artists that I actually paid attention to and listened to when it came to R&B. So um, I used to rap a little bit more, but R&B is something that I made decided that I was just going to stick with and stay with because I just felt like it was more so my forte. So um, as far as that, just really mainly like those artists.
Okay, for sure. And
Yeah.
appreciate your answer on that one. And down the line, I'm gonna ask you a question about that, which will the title of the question will be like a top 5 artist list. But once we get there, I'll ask that question. I don't want to spoil it yet. Um,
Too easy, too easy.
for sure.
I'm be thinking about it now. I'm be thinking about it. So I appreciate you letting me know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like to pull like little secret questions. I like to let everyone know what I'm going to ask before I ask it, so they're not like really thrown off guard or anything. Um,
That's
but
cool. That's cool.
for sure. But moving on back into these questions, this next one is going to be like, how was it growing up where you grew up at? So I'm gonna put that on the screen, and then you could answer that for me.
Okay. Do you mean like back when I was in Israel? Because I was born in
Um,
Israel,
yeah.
or
So
Minnesota,
no,
or a
Georgia.
mix of
Yeah,
both.
yeah, Georgia.
Okay. Too easy. So growing up, I had a lot of good time, a lot of great experiences, things like that.
Hmm.
And with the music, it made it a lot better to me because it was really a great hyping point when it came to music because there was so many artists that were coming out of like Atlanta, and
Hmm.
Atlanta had become so hot at the time to where like clubbing was fun, going out, and everything was just it was just fun. So you had hot artists that was just coming out and they was doing their thing. Like I said, like Usher was one of them, and it just gave me, honestly, it gave me the style of music that I ended up being able to like cultivate later because it was like the string of the snares with the bass and everything like that just made it more of a pop feel, but with a nice R&B, a hip hop flow to it, uh, with a lot of substance. So
For sure.
it was easier for me to perfect my craft and figure out like where I want to be. So I try to kind of stick to that,
Uh-huh.
only because it's more familiar. Uh, but at the same time, I don't try to be limited. But growing up during them times, it was a great time. And like I say, Atlanta was on fire from like the 2000s and up.
Hmm.
So it was a good time, a fun time.
Okay. True that. Um, I want to go back to something you said, because you were mentioning Usher. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite Usher track or project?
I would say like I like his Confession CD, uh, part one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a CD that I listened to a lot more, especially as I got into my teenage years.
Uh huh.
So singing along to his music helped me develop mine more, and just kind of seeing his diversity. His
Yeah.
diversity is definitely a huge impact to me on how well he can deliver as an artist. So I was able to study him and see how he does his craft and everything. And um, hey, look at him now. He doing this thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that Confessions was that was one for
Yeah,
sure. I even
yeah.
see
It's great music. Great
for
music.
sure. Yeah, I like that music video. Like that music video was I see it in a lot of TikToks. People like redoing it and using it for their TikToks. So I'm like, okay, that Confessions did work and inspired some people for sure.
Yeah, yeah. That was one of his best abilities, is to be able to capture his life at the same time and things that he was going through.
Hmm.
And we could all relate to it. And I think that's why they was able to recreate it and make so many
Yeah,
different shows to it. And yeah, man, it's hey, it was a great CD, even part two as well. So
for sure. I didn't know it was a true story when it came out, and then they're like, "Yo, that's true, bro." I was like, "That's wild." He made a whole music video about that. Did everything. It was
yeah,
it told a good story in a music video, like for sure.
yeah. I ain't gonna lie to you. One thing I learned about music is, especially like for me when I write, uh, I'm telling some of my true stories, but at the same time, I'm able to tell it from somebody else's point of view as well. And a lot of times it makes writing a lot easier, especially when you can tap into those emotions,
Hmm.
and then and ultimately when you find that right instrumental, then it's a wrap. You know,
For sure. Okay.
yeah. The storytelling that I try to stick with that the most.
Hmm.
Because it's just a little, it's a lot more easier for me to just be more fluent. That way I don't have to, I don't really get lost. Sometimes I will get like a writer's block trying to write certain things, but when I have a clear vision, it's usually because it's like the story is a lot more clearer at that point.
Yeah. Okay. For sure. I heard that though. Like I talked to a few rappers and we're talking about songwriting, and he's like, "Yo, I feel like I'm telling a story every time I write a song or do a project." I'm like, okay, from that
Yeah,
point of view, like, yeah, I can see that for
yeah.
sure.
Essentially, that's what it's boiling down to.
Hmm.
You know, especially when it makes more sense, then to me it becomes more relatable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. Appreciate you for answering that question for me. We are going to stick on this songwriting topic. That is actually my next question that I have that will be on the board. So here's my next question.
All right. How did you learn how to write songs? I learned how to write songs more so, I would say, from my writing skills.
Hmm.
Writing has always been forte of mine. So like writing stories, writing papers, communicating, learning how to communicate, things like that. So when I got into writing music, then it was a lot easier for me. I just had to learn how to do the format and break the instrumentals down into sections from your intro to your uh, verses to your choruses to your ending. Once I
Hmm.
figured out how to do that, then writing the song became a lot easier.
Okay, for sure.
Became a lot easier.
All right, and that process of like figuring that out, like how long did it take you to figure out that process, or did someone show you that, or did you just like figure it out on your own?
I think for me, I believe it was a lot more natural because I listened to so many songs before, so I
Hmm.
pretty much figured out, you know, okay, like if I'm listening to an instrumental, once I figure out what the instrumental is and like the flow and what I feel like it's trying to say, then innately I just became, or it became easier for me to write to the instrumental. The hardest part was sometimes, let's say, for instance, uh, finding words
Yeah.
to flow. Because writing is, especially when it comes to music, is poetry,
Hmm.
and finding words to flow and getting, not sounding the same. You know, that's usually where it gets difficult. Like you might write your first song, but then once you find another song, then because we all have this way of thinking.
Hmm.
So when you start to diversify and create different songs, then you got to start using different words and writing a
Okay.
certain type of way. That's why they say like a good vision is good to have for that instrumental and that purpose. Like a good title. Because sometimes if I write a song, I'll start where I feel most comfortable. I've
Hmm.
started writing a verse first, and then I'll be like, all right, that's nice. And then I'll figure out the chords later. Or it'll be
Okay.
like vice versa, like depending on what I like about the instrumental. Like sometimes the actual chorus it catches my attention first, and then once it
Hmm.
catches my attention, then I'll be like, ooh, that's nice. Then I'll just start piecing together the chorus first, and then I can bridge off the chorus and write to the verses. and then it
Okay.
just it all just depends on how the instrumental hits me from the beginning.
All right. I felt like I just learned a lot right now from writing music 101 right now. I feel like I'd be an artist. but
Hey, check out my YouTube page.
I seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on how to write, create a song.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm not no mainstream artist or anything like that, but I've been following music for a long time, and
Mhm.
hey, so far so good. So hey,
Yeah,
you got to share it. For
for
them
sure.
artists that's out there, they want to do their thing, man. They need a little help, a little guidelines. Let's do it.
Facts. All right. Yeah, I seen that video when I was on your YouTube earlier. I was like, yeah, let me save that for later. I'm gonna come back to that.
Yeah, it's good
It's
stuff
like,
right there. It's good stuff.
for sure. Okay. I appreciate you for answering that question, breaking down like all the everything that goes into writing the songs. So I feel like some people will learn from this segment we just talked about. So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
and have fun writing your song. Have fun writing it.
For
Have
sure.
fun writing. Don't be too hard on yourself. I try not to be. Sometimes writer block is it can be a beast, but you
Hmm.
gotta put it down and then come back to it later. I listen, just I know we kind of moving on, but I listen
Hmm.
to my songs over and over, and then I have to piece it together.
Yeah.
I can sometimes I can write a song all the way through. I've done it before, but I take my time and patience when it comes to writing as well, because I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Sometimes I have to rewrite a song.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. For sure. Okay. My last statement on this. You were talking about writing block. So is that like when you get stuck when you're writing a song, or like, you mind explaining what that is?
Yeah, it's basically, yeah, when you get stuck writing a song, it's like you can't find the words or you can't find the direction.
Hmm.
Um so sometimes it takes a little bit longer to be able to find them words or that direction, but it's all I've learned a lot of it is it can come from a multiple amount of things. Usually it can be just because maybe you got a lot on your mind. Maybe your head is just not in the music at the time. And that's something that we forget all the time. Like maybe you worried about what's going on with your job. You know, maybe you're worried about what's going on with a relationship, things like that.
Hmm.
So like if you sit down and then you get to try to write, like man, but your mind is steadily wandering and think about other things. Or you could be focused on the music, but you just can't find the words, can't find the vibe, the energy, and if it's not there, ultimately you need words. You know,
True.
um, so that's what that's one of the hardest things for artists. Sometimes a lot of us will write a song and then we'll stop writing a song and move on to another song, and then sometimes I'm gonna say there's a good amount of times where that could be the case. I've done that a lot. I've written a lot of songs that I've never published or anything like that, but uh, it's like it sounds good, and you're like, I just ain't got nothing left for that, so you just jump on to something else.
Okay. So that
Yeah,
would be writer's block then, right? If you're getting stuck
yeah,
like that.
yeah. You
Okay.
get stuck. It's like I'm an artist as well, with drawing, and sometimes I'll start drawing something too, and then I'm like. But like I'll stop drawing and I'll leave some of it. I'll just leave it alone because at that point it's like you get stuck, and
Hmm.
it's hard to explain, but that's basically how it works.
Okay. It seems the definition of it seems pretty straightforward. Writer's block is like when you get stuck on a song. Um, yeah, it sounds pretty straightforward. But
Yeah,
I I feel like I'm learning right now. So thank you again for that.
Yeah.
That should be a YouTube video, writer's block. That sounds really serious, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely frustrating because like it's funny because music, when it comes to music, instruments and things like that you feel that
Mm-hmm.
same energy when you first get it. It's like, oh man, it's fiery. It's in you. You jump
Yeah.
down, you start, and then later on, you just get caught because that same feeling may not be there later. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's why it's very hard to keep yourself in the song. That's why I believe a lot of artists try to make a song right on the fly so they can go ahead and be like, all right, this is my whole vibe and energy for this song.
Yeah.
That way I won't writer's block later,
For
and I
sure.
won't forget what this whole vibe was that I felt when I first heard it,
Mm-hmm.
because it could end up being a hit, if you can finish the whole song, but if you can't finish it, you get stuck, and it's like, it's dead at that point.
For sure. Okay. Thank you again
Yeah,
for that. That's another gem you just threw out to the people. So appreciate you for throwing that out there.
this is
Um,
all free game.
for sure. That's what the name of
Too.
this should have been. But
Yeah.
next question that I have for you is, we talked about it, like the top five question. The way I worded it is top. Oh, do you have a list of the top five? A list of top five singers that inspired you. Excuse me. There you go.
Okay. So I'm gonna put it into the context of some of them are gonna be um single artists, and then some
Mhm.
of them it's gonna be group, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. This is your time. We good.
All right, so I got number one. I got Usher up there.
Hmm.
She's just a phenomenal artist. Um, then I got the Boys to Men because they just taught me how to capture the music, and as a group, all of their voices, I've learned how to match my voice so I could be able to be more diverse. And
Hmm.
all of them awesome singers. Um, and then I guess I'm gonna go a little old school because I
Hmm.
use I use this artist's way of singing a lot, and this Smokey Robinson. Uh, I grew up on Smokey Robinson, and he sings in a falsetto voice, so it helps me when I'm trying to put out different ad libs or like a good chorus, things like
Hmm.
that. I get if different ranges of my voice, and his voice matches that very well. I'm gonna say after that, I really I like Chris Brown's performance. He has a great voice. Even singing and dancing. I don't dance as much as I used to. I can't dance as good as him, but he has a great package as well as far as the artist. Uh, when all attributes and things like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a number five artist. Um, I'm not really sure. I would say Jodeci.
Okay.
Them
Sure.
guys, Casey and JoJo. Uh, yeah, they can really sing,
Wow.
and much emotion and drive, and they still a little old school too now, um, but a lot of their songs straight R&B, and being able to listen to them and see how they push the limits of their tracks and their
Hmm.
voices, throughout the whole course of their songs is definitely amazing. So I definitely look up to them as well as
Sure.
artists. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal top 5 list, by the way. Um, yeah, I don't know what else
Yeah.
to say to that, but that's a great top 5 list. I'm sure when this goes to like our Instagram reels and our TikTok reels, people are gonna rock with this list that you just gave, along with writer's block, how to write a song. I'm sure I'll put that link to your YouTube video in there. So yeah,
Yeah.
free game for sure.
Yeah, it's a list to where, like I
Mhm.
said, it's very diverse. You kind of got the old school mixed with the new school.
Mhm.
Um, so over the years, all of them songs by them
Yeah,
artists that was performed, they've helped me get through some things. Because that's what music is. Music
yeah,
is um a lot of different personalities, a lot of different trial tribulation, things like that. So yeah, it's a phenomenal group of artists right there.
for sure. Yeah, that list is gonna be loved by the people who
Yeah,
see this video or this segment of the video. Um,
yeah.
Thank you again for that list. Um, the next
Sure,
the next question that I'm going to ask, I'm not going to post it up yet. It is about this album that this album you put out.
yeah.
I,
The
so I,
Eclipse,
yeah,
yeah,
because
Eclipse,
I have
my
some
baby.
questions. I have some questions about that project that I have listed here. Um, yeah, I can't wait to ask you those questions because
Yeah,
that intro was like, yeah, that intro is different. Let me put this up
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna
Thank you.
see. And I'm about to make a video for the intro. That's my plan. So yeah, yeah.
Okay. Question: what inspired you to come out with the Eclipse album? Like, was there something that inspired you, or this was like, or you're just like, I'm just gonna drop this project because I've been working on it for a minute, and we're gonna go with it.
So the way it went was, I would say it was about September, a little bit before September last year. Me and Michelle from Mesh Money.
Shout
Uh,
out. Yeah,
Shout out Money. That's my dog, man. Mesh Money Productions. Y'all check them out, man. Uh, Beast in the game. Beast in the
for
game.
sure.
You uh, we, I reached out to him because I actually had the ability when I went back to Israel to reconnect with him,
Hmm.
and we spoke and we talked, and what I asked him for was, hey, you got any instrumentals? Because we was rocking in the studio, but I didn't have time to lay nothing down, so he sent me an instrumental, and I was like, okay. And I and I got the bump in it, and it actually became the song called Hex that I wrote,
Hmm.
and me and him put it together, and I was like, "Bam, this thing too hard. It's too hard." And after that, I was like, "Send me another one. Send me some more instrumentals." Right? So he sent me another one. So I was like, "All right," and I loved it. And it was the song called Time. The vibe
Hmm.
was kicking and everything is real slow tempo, and a lot of people ended up liking that song, and I really appreciate it because it really felt good to write that song, giving people the opportunity to really, you know, get to relationships and how relationships, how we see them as far as, you want to spend time together, fall in love together, and things like that. And after that, I was like, send me another one. So he's like, all right. So he sent me another one. And then I made this song called Treat You Right. And then I was like, send me another one. And
Just
then he
kept
was
saying
like,
it.
Yeah, yeah. So he was like, so if you're gonna do this, he was like, why don't you just make an album? And then
Makes sense. Yeah.
I was like, all right, well, I mean, I could do that. And then he was like, all right, well, you can make this song and that song, your singles, stuff like that. So I just really started to take his direction because like the flame in me to make my album was just burning. It was something that I always wanted to do. I didn't think that I would do it right then, but after that, I just start pushing songs out. And within that time period, um, I had 9 songs out and 8 of them ended up going on my album. And 2 of those, he inspired me to go ahead and make an intro and an outro to.
Yeah.
On,
Which are
on
fire, by
Eclipse.
the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate you.
Sure.
Yeah. And I was like, cool, because what it did was, with the 6 songs that I had, it just added more more songs and more substance, which I didn't think that when those 2 songs, when I made them, that they would actually come out as hard as they did. Like I really like both of them because the intro is like, it's clubbish, but at the same time it's very aggressive, with an R&B style, pretty much. And it's like really how my personality is, so when I wrote that song, I actually incorporated some bars, like almost hip hop bars, um, just to kind of give that that beginning, that we stepping straight into this album feel. And then the outro was mainly just, it was just a testimony, like I'm doing this music thing now, and this is my calling. I'm about to do it. Like, so it was just a great experience in itself. Like I I essentially worked with him through this whole thing, and he gave his all, I gave my all, and hey man, I'm proud to be able to have my first album, and it sounds really good, and I've been hearing a lot of great feedback, so I'm definitely blessed and thankful. For real, for real. Lifelong dream accomplished.
Checklist. It's off the
Yeah,
checklist.
Yep.
For sure. Okay.
I'm gonna say, just to kind of give you an explanation why I call it Eclipse. I just call it the Eclipse because I just wanted it to be something monumental to the effects of an eclipse, and I wanted to have like a different feel to it, and I wanted to incorporate some art into it, but I wanted people to hear like this is what R&B feels like. You know what I mean? Like that. It's old. It's got a little old school, but it's got the new school in it too. So I tried to make it as diverse as I could.
For sure. Yeah, let them know R&B's not dead. Some people saying that. So
yeah, it's not. It's not dead. It just. I feel like rap and hip hop. It became the forefront simply because of its popularity.
Yeah,
And that's cool. But you need some R&B to, you know what I'm saying, to slow people down at the same time,
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely not dead with that project that I heard, because I heard it like after I podcasted with him, because he was telling me, he was like, yo, I was heavily involved in this album. I produced this. I'm like, I was like, you did what? I was like, you true artist, huh? Definition. And then we were listening to it, and he's like, yo, bro, just listen to the intro. And then I heard the intro. I was like, okay, that's fire, bro. And since then,
Yeah.
I've
Now that intro, I actually got up like I didn't even I didn't even get dressed for the day. I came down here in my studio area because I was itching. Like I say, that energy, I was itching to get on it.
Yeah.
And then I came down here and I actually wrote that whole song all the way through. And I sung it, and then after I sung it, I sent it straight to him. And he was ready to jump on it. He was like, man, he was like, man, ride around like I'm Mad Max. Max don't hang with lames, that's facts. Facts, give me 50 feet back. And then it was just, it's a fun track. I really like that track. If y'all ain't heard it, check out Kie B, the Eclipse Album. You can look it up on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. Check it out. I really like it. I put my stamp on it. Y'all check it out. Yeah.
For sure. Okay. I appreciate you for explaining that, because that was one of my highlighted questions that I wanted to ask you about, which was that. The next one, sticking on the topic of this awesome guy that we both know, that I know now. You've known him probably forever.
Yeah.
The next question is gonna be, how did you guys meet? Like, because I know he's in Israel and you were born there, right? Do you go back and forth and visit?
We both were born in Israel.
Okay.
Kids, we all knew each other in the community that we lived in. So the difference came where some of us actually moved, and I was one of the children that moved, and I left at a younger age. I left at 9 years old and came to Marietta, Georgia. So essentially, I grew up on the outskirts of Atlanta. But since we was kids, I knew him, and when I came back to Israel, actually in 2018, my uncle, he knew him as well too, because they made music together. So me and my uncle, we jumped in the vehicle, some of my other family members, and we went over to his studio. And then that's when we was able to reconnect again and everything. And then the rest was essentially history. We stayed in touch with each other. And like I said, he was sending me music over time, things like that. And I learned a lot from him. Like, I mean, a lot within this year that I've been, like, I've pretty much taken my music serious the way I have, I'm gonna say. All the game that he then gave me, essentially, I'm a product of that, um, especially when it comes to direction, uh, how to make sure I'm like things like what social media sites I need to be active on, where
Oh
I
yeah,
need to
he would
post
know
my.
that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking all the game. He's been, learning all of these years that he's been making music, and I'm basically just applying it. And I'm 33 years old, so to me, I'm glad that I'm in the position to be able to make my music the way I do. I'm not as young as I am. I've made music in the past, but none of the music that I've ever had, I've really like pushed. But this was a masterpiece, so I'm
It
definitely gonna make it.
was for
Yeah,
sure.
appreciate it, sir.
Yeah.
Thank.
Yeah, he made sure I heard that like right after our right after our podcast. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Hey,
I,
I hope people, like I hope they like it when they play it, and listen to it, because it's definitely different. It's different, you know.
for sure. Well, I'm not gonna have a choice by listening to that intro. Intro is just gonna point you like in a different direction. Like you're like, okay, like I want to hear more of this. The intro is
Yeah.
what does it. Like if that's the first thing you hear when you play that album, you're like, all right, I'm about to rock with this. That's how I felt. Like because he was like, you need to hear this intro. I was like, what's the deal with this intro? Like you keep telling me about this intro, sir. And then I heard it and I was like, okay, I see why. That's pretty it's pretty fire intro right there. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
waiting for the music video though. Like so when you drop that, you make sure let me know and I want to watch it.
Yeah.
But
I actually got it in the making right now.
for
The
sure.
official date and everything.
Hmm.
We're still trying to figure that out and everything. Like all of this is new for me, making video and rising as a star with because all of us is stars. Like I feel like if you push yourself out there, you put your music out there, you a star. You know, um,
Hmm.
it's a leap of faith, you know.
Yeah.
And when I do make this music video, I'm definitely gonna send it to you so you can
For
check it
sure.
out and
Yeah.
get
I'm
some nice
excited.
promotion.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We
Okay.
got some great ideas between me and the person who is setting the video up. We got some really
Mhm.
great ideas. So,
Okay.
I'm not willing it'll work out. It'll work out. It'll work out really well. That's what I'm praying on. You know.
Okay. For sure. Sticking with this topic of this awesome individual we're discussing. Um I heard he produced the album.
Oh yeah, yeah. This whole album, you know, um, all the instrument, all the production is behind him.
Okay.
What I did was I wrote the songs. Um, I recorded my vocals
Hmm.
and I sent them to him. We went back and forth, like a producer and a writer and the artist do. He would send me my first, uh, uh, what is it called? My first and my second takes. There's
Hmm.
another word for it. I just can't think. But and then I would listen to him and I give him, yeah, I like this. Can we change that? Let's change this. Back and forth so it sounds good.
Yeah.
We both was able. We put our minds together and you know, and we came up with some pretty, some pretty dope stuff, man. I didn't want none of the songs, especially based off the tracks that he was sending me. I didn't
Hmm.
want none of them to sound the same.
Yeah.
And it's essentially what you got, you know. Uh, like I got a song about getting married, the end of time song. I got a song called Enough, where you're going through a bad relationship, and you just, it's like, man, we ain't getting nowhere. Um, and you just want to call it quits, you know.
Hmm.
Uh, just things like that. That's what the Eclipse album to me. I just wanted to make it. It's just a song, a CD with a bunch of different diverse songs that anybody can listen to, like on a given day. You know.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely
Yeah.
giving some insight to how this album creation went. And
Yeah.
last question on this: how how was it working with him like closely on your album?
Oh man, it was super easy, man. Like one thing about Michelle is like, for one, he's a very intelligent individual when it comes to music. His
Hmm.
sound, like, knows exactly what something is supposed to sound like. Uh, Awesome writer, great writer, things like that. Even the songs that I've listened to that he dropped, uh, you know, and working with him was really easy because even the direction that he gave me, it, you know, it was just great stuff. Because, like I said, essentially, a lot of the work that I didn't put into this based on the direction that he gave me, when it came to like the technical sides, when it came to promoting my music, when it came to marketing myself. And
Mhm.
I mean, this dude, man, he'll be sending me videos after videos after video. Like we literally, man, we talk every day. Like we talk every day. He's sending me something, or I'm saying something and sending him something. He like, look, you need to do this, or I put him on something. It's like that. So we great friends when it comes to this music thing, but at the same time, more than anything, we're great business partners. Um, because it, when it comes to business, we both understand. He's been in business a long time. I have my own businesses that I do outside of my music, and conduct, but we were able to work really well with being able to do deadlines,
Mhm.
make sure we had our paperwork, all that different kind of stuff. I'm not gonna get too deep, but we was able to work with each other really well, really well. And as you can see with this album, you know, um, it's like he told me this is one of the most professional ones that he's ever made. So, you know, he ain't
Yeah,
did nothing but
huge.
try to help.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely a great producer, man. Y'all holler at him. That's money.
Hey, yeah, that's the homie now. Like I connected with him
Mhm.
instantly. Like, yeah,
Hey, hey, man. Hey, you gotta have them ones with you.
for sure. Okay, thank you for that. I'm gonna move on here. We're gonna discuss some goals as an artist. That's what we're about to talk about. What goals do you have as an artist? Like, did you make like a checklist, or are you like taking it like a day by day kind of thing? Like, mind going into that?
Um, that's actually a good question because, like, especially since I've kind of stepped into being a artist the way I have.
Hmm.
Um, Essentially, I am kind of going day by day with it. Um, but at the same time, I want to keep feeding my audience and being present. And
Hmm.
I do want to continue to make music. So um, I'm not sure at what level or degree I'm going to be able to do it at, but
Hmm.
I will be present, and because I feel like I still got so much I can give.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I do want to I do want to make another album. Um, that's definitely another goal. I'm learning, especially as an independent artist, like there's a lot that goes into it. Um, there's a lot that goes into it. So uh, it's essentially you have another job.
Yeah, for sure.
Have another job. Like I got my own job, but I have another job. But what I do like about it is I can approach it whenever I want to.
Yeah,
Feel compelled, and I don't feel like I necessarily have to do it. But I love doing it. So
yeah,
it's like, you know, um, I don't know all the ins and outs of this thing, uh, to performing and all that good stuff. I've done stuff like that in the past, like a performance where I get up on stage, but not like, like the huge crowds and
yeah.
all that. If it ever comes to that, then shoot, I tip my hat to it. If it
Hmm.
does, I mean, I'm an opportunist when it comes to things, but uh, if it's in the, if it's for me, then cool, even better,
For sure. Thank you for answering that for me. Um,
Yeah.
I'm gonna I'm gonna ask you three more questions, but in no particular order. But the next question I'm gonna ask is this is more like on the feature side or producing side. Like it's gonna be. I'm just gonna put it up there. Let me stop talking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm listening. Yeah.
There you go. What are some artists or producers you want to work with? Eventually, that is.
It's funny you say that because like these ain't even these are not really even questions that I've so much even thought about.
Uh huh.
Um, but if I do work with any artists or producers, I would like to work with some that have a lot of vision and clarity. Um,
Hmm.
the artists and some that are upcoming upcoming artists or producers, just because I like to feel people out at the ground level as well.
Yeah.
Um, and if I do jump to anybody, who's a little bit more experienced in the game, let's say you know, um, I don't know, let's say maybe Jermaine Dupri, somebody like that,
Uh huh.
or you know, I mean, who knows? I mean, I can gain some expertise from them and learn
For
more
sure.
about how to be a better artist, and honestly, like, I don't know. I guess since I'm I'm more so taking this the way I'm taking it one day at a time, and really learning. Um, I if I ever did do a feature with another artist, it wasn't like it is now, to where like now getting into the technical side and dealing
Yeah.
with rights, copyrights, publishing, all of that kind of stuff. Um, I'm learning, and I guess I'm a little bit more hesitant towards that because I want to make sure that I'm covering my bases,
Hmm.
and essentially it's like music. Music is fun when you just, oh man, let's jump on this track and do our thing. But then it gets very complicated when not well, yeah, complicated. I guess I can say complicated once you start getting a little bit more into the money side, the business side, things like that.
Yeah, the paperwork and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff. Because people are gonna run rights. You got to pay this person. You got to pay a producer. You got to make sure your paperwork straight. You know, so it starts to get a lot more. Um, I would say a lot more difficult. But I feel like once you figure out that part, then everything works out.
For sure. Okay. Great
Yeah,
information on that one. Because Mish, I'm saying his name right. I always say it wrong.
yeah,
Um, so he's talking to me about like the business side as well, and he was like, "Bro, I hate the business side. I just want to do music, but unfortunately, you have to do the business side to be a successful artist." So I was like,
yeah,
"Yeah, I get that for sure."
yeah. It's just like anything, in this world. The moment you start taking it to a more professional level, then you start getting into a more professional environment where, cause everybody gonna start wanting they cut, um, and with music travels, music travels. Like I feel like it'll travel at like the speed of lightning versus certain, other niches and things like that when it comes to business. So it's like like for instance, he was teaching me about getting on the Spotify playlist, things like that. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like if you're on the Spotify playlist, right, and then they bump in your music, then they start figuring out, okay, this is your audience. These are the people that like to listen to your music. But it's like essentially like them people out there listening to your music, but you don't know who they are, but you know that somebody jamming your music, you know, and then you start thinking about collecting royalties and from being a
Yeah,
songwriter to a producer, all these different things. A lot of platforms you got to get involved with streaming wise, and setting up your essential business, because when you're an artist, you become a business person.
sure. Yeah, for sure on that one. those playlists are extremely helpful though. Those
Yeah,
Spotify playlists. I'm not sure if Apple Music has them, but I mainly know about the Spotify ones only because I
yeah,
know a bunch of artists and they tell me about it. And I'm like, okay, that's the way to go. Trying to get your streams up for sure.
yeah. I haven't really. It's funny. A lot of these streaming platforms, I really didn't know too much about them until I started making music, and then when I started posting my music on there, I didn't have any memberships, things like that. So
Mhm.
now I'm seeing that they're more than just you know um there to play playlist or radio like Pandora.
Yeah.
You got real artists out there that are independent or signed, and their music is going on there, and people is actually rocking with it.
Yeah, we are in the generation of everything streamed, literally.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and there's no way around it either. So, like, if you're an artist, you kind of have to do that. That and social media. So, to
yeah,
me, those are the two biggest ways of getting music out: social media and the streaming platforms. So, I
yeah.
don't think there's a way for you people to hand out CDs anymore because that went away.
Yeah.
so, so
It's
the new.
funny because there's an audience out there for it,
Mhm.
but it does. We like you said, we're in the digital age, and that's like me. I'm a CD person because I feel like that record is, that's your baby, and
Yeah,
people be like, man, I ain't got no CD player, like, you know.
for sure.
So it's just what it is. You gotta adjust.
Okay. We're winding down here. My last two questions for you. Okay. The first to last one, I'm going to put on the screen. And I'm just going to put it up and stop talking again. Um, do you have a favorite social media platform?
I probably say Facebook because I've been on there for God knows how long. Um,
Mhm.
a lot of people I know that are on there, and like versus like Instagram, TikTok. Um, I recently, like, I ain't gonna lie, I recently got those like maybe shoot, probably the end of last year and the
Mhm.
beginning of this year. So if you go on my Instagram and stuff like that, I don't have a lot of friends. TikToks, I don't have a lot of followers, things like that. So
Oh, no, they're coming. Believe it. They're going to start showing up. That's usually how that works. So,
yeah, I see it now. It's like one here, one there, kind of every day now, and I'm like, cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And
Okay.
that comes with, when I created all of these different streaming platforms like my YouTube page and Spotify, then like uh putting that information in there. Follow me here, follow me there, and
Yeah,
keeping it like that circumvent of information so people know, like, hey, you can follow me on that. But I'm more active on Facebook than anything.
for sure. So now that we noted that, everyone he's more active on Facebook. So go follow him on Facebook. What is your Facebook handle? I mean your username. What do you
So
go
I
by?
actually got two. I got two. I got actually the main one that I have that I operate under is actually my real name. And my real name is Sakai Brinson, but it's spelled Tsakie. Last name Brinson, Brinson. And that's my main Facebook page. But I also have a fan page as well that I created. Actually, I think it was like earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's actually Kie B, uh, fan_page. So that's why I post my content as well. Um, but generally, the one that I have under my name is the one that I'll usually post up to soon because I'm just so used to doing it, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Honestly speaking, yeah, I'm just so used to doing it. So like, I'll post something and I'll be like, well, if this is artist related, then you need to put it on there too. So eventually, what I do is I just had the same thing go on there as well. So you'll see like more likes or something like that on my my actual name page for the same post than you will on my fan page, because it's just not it's not as built up um just yet, you know.
For sure. Okay. And that was noted. And then everyone go follow him on that. So last question of the night for you. It's not related to music or anything. This is a random question I thought about before we went live. I'm gonna put
Okay,
it up
okay.
actually. Okay. Tell me
Tell me
something we
something.
don't know about you.
Hmm. I know how to skate four
say,
wheelers.
say that again.
I know how to skate. You know,
Oh, you
like
know,
going to the skate room.
yeah,
Yeah, them little, yeah,
without
yeah, little
falling.
road. Oh yeah, most
That,
definitely. When we was kids, you know, we used to go to the skate ring all the time. It's just like road bound. I
hmm
mean, we weren't no group like them or nothing like that, but yeah, we used to hit the skating rings, man, on like Friday, Saturday. I actually been to Cascade one time.
hmm
Uh, and that was pretty fun out in Atlanta. But we would go like Cobb County, and they had one in Smyrna as well. So that was like the thing that we did. I actually learned how to do it pretty well. Um, I can put them on right now. I ain't skated in years, but I can put them on right now, and I guarantee you, I still know how to do it. It's like riding a bike. I may not be as good, but yeah,
All right,
yeah,
yeah. I feel like that's a
yeah.
different kind of bike though, because that fall different. Do you ice skate too, or
Yeah.
just regular skate?
Nah, I don't know how to ice skate. That
I
I'm
tried that
I
once
got
and I just failed, and I was like, yeah, never again. We're doing this.
yeah. I've seen people do it. I've never tried it. Honestly, I heard that ice hurts, so
Yeah, they do.
I'm not
Yeah,
too excited about hitting that. That one blade. I feel like it'll probably take a little time before I get that down. Um,
yeah, for sure.
I give it to them people that be in the Olympics doing backflips and
So,
triple.
yeah,
I don't know what that move is called, triple doubles, but
doing that front and back flip. Okay, okay,
yeah,
for sure. I appreciate you for answering that last question. Um,
yeah. Thank you, yes, sir.
for sure. Appreciate you for joining. Again, this video is going to be on Instagram and segments. That's why I do the questions like that, so I can put it up in segments. Facebook's already there already. It's going to be on our YouTube, and of course, I'll tag you and everything. So that's where we're
Yeah,
at with it.
100.
Hopefully, we could do another one after that music video drops.
Oh yeah, that definitely be dope. And I'll make sure I reach out to you so I can let you know what that experience is all about.
For
Uh,
sure.
I'm hoping it can happen sooner than later. But you know, everything happens in segments. So
hmm
uh, we both, me and the film guy, we're trying to do something uh, that's gonna have a lot of good quality and substance to it. So um, essentially being patient so we can deliver. Because I got a thing about putting out, you know, like trash anything.
You don't do that.
It's- I can't do it. You know, I would spend a year doing something before you get something trash from me.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
like quality. I like excellence.
you gotta have quality. You know, you gotta be
hmm
put together. Got to
For sure.
be.
For sure.
Yeah, but I appreciate you having me, most definitely. Yes, sir.
For sure. Thank you again. I'm gonna reach out to you after we get off of here, and I'll get some information from you so I could tag you and everything. But
All right.
yeah,
100,
again,
100.
for sure. Again, thank you again for joining on short notice, because it was like a 24-hour window technically, or shorter than that.
Yeah,
But
it actually was. It actually was.
all
But
right, for sure.
it worked out perfectly. Um, it definitely did. I definitely appreciate you giving me this platform so I can, continue to give me a nice little boost off, and
Yeah, for sure.
you know what I'm saying. Put
Yeah,
put put some of the great content out there so people can enjoy it from both sides.
yeah. You know, you got to. You're an artist. You gotta have some content out.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, yeah, most definitely.
yeah. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and stop here because I'm gonna post this to everywhere. So yeah, thank
All
you
right,
again for joining. Any
appreciate it.
last words before we end?
Uh, well, hey, all the creators out there, everybody out there, follow your dreams, do you. Hey, don't be afraid, man. That's the biggest step. Step one. After that is downhill from there.
For sure. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Message for sure. Thank you again. We're gonna go ahead and end here, and
Appreciate it.
hopefully we can do this again. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.